You are listening to the second part of the story. You can listen to the first part in the previous video or by following the link in the description under this video. Happy listening. What if I say no? What if I told you I wouldn't live like this, Christy? That I don't share with anyone and you shouldn't either? And what about our vows? Don't they mean anything? She had the decency to look away. I understand your anger, Mike. It would be the same for me. But I'm here to help you get through it. Look, this has been going on for quite some time and you didn't know anything. Now you know, because I respect you and believe that you should know. I don't know what will happen here, but I know what I want it to be. I think you can live with it. And I think you will. What we have is too good. You know it. You know that it's better for both of us to be together than apart. This, she again gestured to the member head, does not affect us. I don't know how to make you understand this. It's like a second job or something. She had no idea about my anger. She had all the classic symptoms of someone who has given up on the concept of understanding a reaction in a negative way, because there is simply no way to deal with it or accept that you are the cause of it. This is what most people do. When they do something wrong or unpleasant, they simply ignore the extent of the reaction, because otherwise it will actually send a signal that what they did is seriously wrong. And no one wants this, because then they will have to do something about it. I snorted and said, "You really believe this, don't you?" "How is that supposed to work, Christy? How are you going to soothe my ego? How are you going to make all this better?" She blinked at this and, to her credit, perked up. "Don't know. This is what you have to tell me. Whatever you want." "Okay, no problem. Tell that ass-licker he's done with you and to get out of here immediately, and let him forget your number." I leaned forward and looked into her eyes. "That's what I want, Christy." "Do it." She looked at me for a second, then looked away. "So then, nothing?" I asked in an icy tone. There was silence for a moment. I heard the grandfather clock on the wall that her mother gave us for our 10-year wedding anniversary, ticking away the minutes. "Mike, why can't you understand? Nothing should change. We're here now because I don't want to be whoring behind your back. This is killing me. Appear more determined than you really are. I should be free. And you want me to be free, right? And I respect you enough for you to know. To understand. And accepted?" I finished for her. She nodded, a tear appearing in the corner of her eye. "How long have we been married, Christy?" I asked unexpectedly. 11 years old," she answered, uncertainty. "Right. And in all this time, have I ever let you know that I don't mind? That I'll be okay? That I will overcome this and accept it?" And again she turned away. Another point for Mike's team. She insulted my intelligence and her knowledge of me. Willful ignorance of reality. "No," she answered quietly. Then she looked back. "But you can. I know that you can. Our lives are based on unlimited love for each other. If you love me, if you really love me, then you will allow me this. Is it true? Unlimited love? And this is how you manifest it? Falling in love with someone else and having sex with him? Is there unlimited love? Lord, what in your world is unlimited hatred? Kill me first? It's not fair, Mike. I didn't plan this. Nobody wanted to hurt you. Well, damn, good luck with that. You did it anyway. I'm sorry. Me too. But that doesn't do much, does it? I took another sip of beer. I didn't feel the taste. At that moment, it was cold and wet. I contemplated my next maneuver. I knew it was difficult for her to come to me with this. That's why there was ass-licking with her. Otherwise, she would never have gotten through it. But she had no idea of the depth of my pain. Hell, even I didn't know right now. "Christy, how do you think I feel now?" I asked quietly. She looked at the guy sitting next to her, James. He nodded, encouraging her. "I think you must be in pain." "You're angry. Angry at me. Because I did this to us, with you. But you don't understand. It's not what you think. It's not what you're afraid of. Everything will be fine. We can work things out. I still love you and always will. I need you to understand this. If that's all you understand. I love it. You. I will always love you. I will always be yours. And you will be mine. We just have to get through it. Adjust a little. And we will be together forever. Lobsters, remember? She was referring to the episode we were watching of Friends. We both loved the idea of the old lobster couple and even dressed up as lobsters for Halloween that year. I don't think you have any idea. I really don't think so. You tore my heart out. You know that? Everything I thought we were basing ourselves on turned out to be a lie. The pain burst out of me, fresh and smoking. No, it's all not so, Christy interrupted me. That's the point. Everything is wrong. I am still the same. You are still the same. It's still the same marriage. There's just another dimension, new axis. You must understand this. Nothing changes. You just had to find out, that's all. Why, Christy? Why did I have to find out? Why couldn't you just continue to act in secret? I was ready to digress for a moment because I really wanted to point something out to her. She looked slightly dazed. Would you really prefer it if I just kept cheating? No, that's not what I said. I asked why I had to find out. Because it was killing me, she said in a slightly confused voice, not understanding what I was getting at. I hid and tried very hard to be at home the way I always was, and it wasn't fair to you. That's right, so you were hiding. And why? Why was it killing you? Well, because it was... She hesitated, realizing what I was getting at. Wrong, I added. She looked at me silently. The reason you were hiding is because you knew it was wrong and that I would be outraged, upset, hurt, angry, and everything else if I found out. You knew it was a bad and destructive thing to do, so you hid. You hid your bad behavior because you knew it was wrong. There was silence. Then she said, "We just had to find a way to tell you this to minimize the pain." And how did it happen? I asked in response, pursing my lips in sarcasm. She didn't answer. But still, you have no idea how I feel right now. Everything you say is just words. Oh, I'm sure this is hard for you. Very hard. Poor thing. None of you have any damn plans to give up, do you? Just good old Mike. I will have to accept this. For you, the issue has already been resolved. You will not lose anything. All you can do is have your cake and eat it. And this fucker? Well, I don't know what he's losing. Nothing, I suspect. He gets you without remorse or meanness. Beauty. He looked at me and was about to say something, and I stared at him, looked at his finger, and lowered my beer, as if preparing for something. Apparently, he changed his mind. Mike, James wants me all the time, just like you. I'm trying to do the best I can. Cut me some slack. I told him, just like you, that he couldn't have all of me like you. I now have 2 men to take care of, and there is no way I am going to replace you. You're such a fucking idiot, Christy. Listen to yourself. Don't replace me? Fuck you. Of course you are replacing. The very fact that we are having this conversation means that I am not being replaced, as you so charmingly put it. I no longer have you exclusively, which I noticed is not what I signed up for when we exchanged our marriage vows. And you too. The best thing you can do is leave that bastard's ass right now, and quite frankly, throw yourself at my mercy. That's all. I don't share shit with anyone. Stop asking for it. You must know. But you can't imagine my pain. I want you to imagine that I'm having an affair. That I'm having sex with a cute, red-haired paralegal. Picture this, Christy. Imagine that I just came home and told you that I've been having sex with her for months. That I love her and want to keep doing it. I looked at her and realized that my words had gone in one ear and out the other. She's too caught up in her own situation to even process my words with any degree of reality. Then she opened her mouth and confirmed it. Well, I wouldn't like it very much, but I would find a way to put up with it. Fuck it. You should put up with it. The only reason you say that is because of the situation you want me to accept. Let's be honest. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't have asked for that, should I? That was the end of it. Even she had to admit the honesty of that statement. You destroyed me, Christy. You destroyed us. Don't you understand that? I don't care about your words that nothing will change. It has already changed, and there is no escape from this. No matter what happens now, you will always betray me. Always. And nothing will change that. I will never get over this, and I will have to ask you to leave, as you obviously want this to continue. And even if you didn't, how the hell would I ever trust you again? You hid this from me, very effectively, for I don't know how long. If you said, okay, I'm done, what then? How do I know if you decide to start over, either with this funny guy or with someone else? How can I trust you now, Christy? But you're not going to stop, are you? Do you want it? You just told me what you want. This question struck a nerve. I saw that she did not look at it from that point of view. The fact of the matter is that people who make deals with the devil never have them. You made your choice, and it wasn't me, was it? Because if it were me, this crap would have disappeared a long time ago. This is what I want, but you won't give it to me. Do you have any idea what it's like, Christy? Can you imagine? No, of course you can't imagine. You just took everything I had to give, and then that idiot too. And now you want to legitimize this choice. Well, damn. It doesn't work that way. We have already made our choice. You can't do it again. I don't have the slightest idea how I will live in the future, but I can tell you the following. I won't be able to trust another woman as long as I live. You've already done this to me, Christy, so thank you for that. Only for you. I don't know if I'll ever be able to get over what you did and what you're trying to force me to accept. I think it's disgusting, but you're so blinded by the fact that you got it all in a short period of time that you honestly believe you can have it all, and I just need convincing. Fuck you, darling. Life is not like that. The reality is that you will never know how much you offended me today. Never. Until someone does the same to you. But that won't happen because you'll be too busy to get what you want. Oh, Mike, I'm sorry. I do not want to hurt you. I really don't want to. Please, please. You don't have to behave like that. Tears were streaming down her face. How should I feel, Christy? Whatever you got from me wasn't enough for you, was it? What kind of feeling is this for a man whom you should love without reservation? Tell me, how should I feel? I don't even know what I did wrong or what you didn't get, and there's no way you can be honest and tell me, can you? You haven't been honest until now, have you? There was silence. Christy opened her arms and leaned forward hesitantly, as if wanting to hug me. I raised my hand. No, thank you. The last thing I want is merciful love from you. I almost called her a bitch, but I needed to control myself. I didn't even notice the tears in my eyes until I wiped them away. It was strange to struggle with both rage and pain at the same time. The combination was strange. It's like you want to throw someone off a cliff, but you do it by holding onto them and jumping off yourself. Your mind is racing in all directions, bringing everything to its logical conclusion. She needed some understanding of the havoc she had caused here. Like most who have done something terrible, she didn't want to face it, trying instead to downplay it and find a way to put it into words so it wouldn't sound so bad. She needed to do it because deep down she knew how bad it was and how devastating it would be, but she didn't want to face the responsibility. Once you do, you'll be obligated to do something. Once you confess, you'll have to repair the damage, and she simply doesn't have the tools or ability to do that. Some things cannot be returned. The more I could make her see it, the more responsibility she would have to bear. And I knew her. She had such an idea of herself that she couldn't stand it. She will suffer forever, knowing that this happened was her fault, and she has no way to fix everything. Christy whimpered a little more, and the guy next to her stirred, as if wanting to say something. I looked at him, and he decided to abandon the idea. There was a pause. Then I asked, "So I can have sex too, right? Is that part of your master plan?" Christy raised her head and frowned. I like it when she frowns. Her nose wrinkled and lines appeared between her eyes. She said, "Well, I would like to hope that this will not happen. Ideally, you should only have enough of me. In the past, there was always enough. But I understand that I don't dare judge or say no, so I wouldn't like it very much. but I would accept it. With reservations, of course. With reservations, I muttered. This woman is out of touch with reality. How the hell was I married to her for 11 years and didn't see this? What did I smoke and drink? Is it really love? So blind? Am I really so stupid? Well, you don't need to fall in love. You mean, how are you? Too easy. She frowned again. Another blow. C3, C4, and C5 are next, please. Maybe this time I can get her battleship. No, I mean, it's different. If you want to try another woman, I wouldn't like it very much, but like I said, I can't be too judgmental. I understand it. No, you must be sure, like me, that the relationship you are in is the main one, that you are mine and I am yours, as it has always been. I even laughed. Except for the last, 3 months? 6? While you were having sex here with that clown? She sighed. It's not like that, Mike. I never stopped loving you, just expanded my horizons, that's all. I like my horizons, thank you, I replied. She beamed, obviously seeing in my words that I had no intention of looking for another woman. Great. Well, as I already said, as far as you and I are concerned, nothing changes. I love you as much as always. Nothing changes. This statement made me very angry, and then I realized that this relationship was over. As strong as ever. That is, almost so much that it allowed her to jump into bed with another man. And because she did it once, she will do it again. What will I get, Christy? Part-time wife? Is this how it will be? Part of the time with me and part of the time with Captain Hook? I said, nodding at the guy, James, who was still stroking his finger. It won't be like this, she said, trembling violently. We thought we could alternate the time. 2 weeks with you, a few days with James. You wouldn't exist anyway most of the time. You will never miss your time. You get most of it. Just like now. You were there first. I shook my head and laughed the way you laugh when it's not even remotely funny. You're crazy, you know that? How have I missed this all these years? She even smiled back at me and said, Love is blind. That's true, I said dryly, in one of those last-word tones. I thought again. And I was also surprised that I started this conversation at all. But most likely, this was one of the last conversations with her, so we needed to express everything right now. I was shocked at myself when I realized that I felt this way, but then, on reflection, I firmly affirmed this feeling. And this despicable person here, I said, nodding at James, is not against this arrangement? He looked at her, then at me, and smiling again, hesitated for a second, waiting for her confirmation, and then nodded in agreement. I turned my attention back to Christy. So it just happened, right? Nothing was planned? Did you just fall in love with each other? No plans or intentions? At that moment, I really wanted to give her the rope, and I was not disappointed. Yes, you have to believe me. I wasn't looking for this. I was happy. I'm still happy. Just even more. Except for this moment. What hurts you hurts me too. When do you have to pay your bills, right? It's a shame you have to pay to me, not you, yes, Christy. It's not easy for me either, Mike. I know how upset you must be, how angry. But I know that you are above this. I know you can handle it. Oh, you know, right? You know I can just deal with this, don't you? She turned away and this time did not return her gaze to me. Would you like to know, Christy, what I think? I said quietly. She turned her gaze back to me. There was concern in it. Then she nodded hesitantly. Then, it's okay. I think this whole thing is crap from start to finish. I think the whole "it just happened" excuse is bullshit, and it's dripping onto my shoes right now. You can't just fall in love, Christy. You know it. Here is an effort of will. You have to do all these little things along the way. Spend time together. Look for each other. Let the other know that you're interested in him. Jokes that no one understands. Little glances and touches. Personal and intimate things. That's how they fall in love. And you don't do this unconsciously. To do this, you make a conscious choice. At a minimum, it is a conscious choice not to stop yourself from doing this. You know it. I know it. Even this mug knows it. It was a direct attack on who Christy thought she was. She truly believes that she was moral and ethical and made the right choices. I saw that for her, as for many others, the statement, "It just happened," is an excuse. This is done by those who do not want to face the reality of their own guilt in an act that, deep down, they consider wrong. Whether they will be able to stop is another matter. It happens every day that people do something they know is wrong, but do it anyway because they don't have the mental fortitude to simply say no. It is especially difficult when it comes to forbidden fruit. The mind will come up with all sorts of reasons why they did it, to make it acceptable to themselves, but ultimately most conscious people know the difference between good and bad. They just do everything to avoid looking at it directly. In my work as a mediator, such situations are never addressed. Trying to force someone to evaluate and admit their bad behavior is not the way to achieve a good outcome. One of two things always happens. Either he accepts it and comes to terms with it, trying to integrate it into his self-perception, and creating more and more ridiculous reasons to explain this behavior, or he does not accept it and will vigorously dispute it, to the point of driving himself into logical and emotional angle. And when that happens, he fights back, often in evil ways. Then anger and distractions are used, and again, no one wins. There are times when you can get through to someone, but it usually takes someone they absolutely respect, the right words at the right time, and it's all too easy to get it wrong. And if this is deeply denied, as I observe in this case, well, you can just as well ride against the wind. In Christy's case, she's smart enough to know it's wrong, and he knows that I am not mistaken in my words. It will be very difficult for her to come to terms with this reality in her mind if she pays attention to it. I did the same thing I tried to do before, pointing out her responsibility for how I felt. With limited success, I thought. But it's normal. Getting someone to understand what they've done is often a long process that they have to come to on their own. Almost no one understands this the first time it is shown to them. He must get over it over time, on his own. Maybe you didn't intend to do this, but you didn't stop it, did you? This is treason, Christy. Every act here is emotional betrayal, even before it turns into a dirty little sex fest, which I'm sure it is, and you know it. Another ray of light on this topic. I knew she would be thinking about it for days. Now, the next step. So your excuse is that I didn't lack anything? And that's all? Only a glance in response. She began to realize what I was doing and was scared. Words can be powerful weapons if you know how to use them, and she knew that I knew. It's clear. So it never occurred to you that if you have all this love left for your numb thumb, then by definition you are not giving it to me. You somehow established a certain local amount of love that I should receive, and everything above that you can give at your discretion, right? She answered, "You can love your children and still love your spouse." Did your mother love you less, just because you had 6 children? It was unexpected. She resists. The thought occurred to me that they were rehearsing with each other. They tried to prevent some of my inevitable arguments. In a way, their planning was admirable. It's a shame. Oh, yes, that's true. And while you're at it, yeah, I didn't get my share. At all. And you know it. But we're not talking about children, are we? We are talking about marriage. I spat out the last word and she shuddered. Fine. I'm so glad that you were able to give a figure for how much I should receive. Please, you should write an article about this. I'm sure there are many other couples who would like to know what this number is. Enough for him not to notice the flaw, right? They stare again, with a pale face around their eyes. She knows damn well that I'm going to destroy her now. I said, "What do you think your brother and sister will say about this? Have you thought about this at all?" "Just curious." Christy raised her head and stuck out her jaw, a sure sign that she was going down the path of stubbornness. "I think they wouldn't approve, but if I could explain to them, explain that I didn't want this to happen, that it just happened naturally, that I want to be happy, and this is my path to this, they would understand. You know, they want the best for me." It was true. This is true. Although I don't think Christy understands that they have no illusions about what she will do to get there. On this occasion, on our wedding day, her brother talked to me personally. He told me to not put up with her crap. It's hot but burns quickly. Stand your ground and she will come to her senses. He also explained that she has some weird ideas, but when you come across them, just laugh at them, and eventually she will understand. I don't think she'll get as much reception as she thinks. Yes? I think you're wishful thinking. I think once you explain that you had sex behind my back, and that's exactly what you did, let's not sugarcoat it, you became someone else's whore without any options, and then came to my house and lied about it without remorse, and there's nothing you can do or say to change it. Then I think they'll have something to say about it. Don't you think so? Do you think your brother will approve or understand, Christy? I put air quotes around will approve and will understand. She lowered her eyes, then raised them again, and said quietly, "They will understand. I know they will understand." Just like you knew I'd find a way to accept it, right? 0 out of 2 so far, baby. Not the best result. She sniffled once and rubbed her eyes, but I wasn't going to give up. You know, even after I ask you to leave, you will continue to date this bastard. I looked at James, who was now looking at me with hatred on his face. Even he understood what I was doing. You leave? She intervened weakly. You are, after all, his you love, right? You said so yourself. So when I say go away, where will you go? Don't say you didn't plan this. I know it is. You're not stupid. You knew that there was a chance that I wouldn't agree to this, judging by the way it was worded so far. It was impossible to refuse it, so you would have left. Have you already moved some of your things to him? I would check, but I don't want to get up. Her voice came from very far away. We thought... I thought you'd need time to come to terms with the new... She trailed off, then tried a new topic, ignoring the one she didn't want to answer. I'm not going to give up, even if you make me leave. You are mine and I am yours. I will always be there. You know it. More and more interesting. She does everything she can to beat me on my field, trying to play on my own emotional difficulties. She knows that in my professional life I always find the best solution, and I am sure that here she offers me the best solution. So, your plan was to live with a man who willingly and knowingly hunts for someone else's wife. A man who has no respect for other people's relationships. A man of such stellar quality that he sits on my couch, drinks my beer, laying claim to someone else's wife. With this man? So who do you connect your emotional life with? What are your standards these days? Wow. That line struck a chord, and I saw her sneak a glance at James, who looked back at her, shook his head and gave him a "don't listen to that guy" smile. Baby, she managed to say before I leaned forward. As menacing as possible, in as low a voice as possible, I said, "Last warning, James, or they'll call you Identical Jimmy. Understood?" And he also associates himself with you, I continued, an inveterate traitor. Once you cheat, you will always cheat, right? Well, you deserve each other, that's for sure. And I'm sure everything will be great at first. Lots of guilt-free sex, at least on your part. I doubt that there was such a thing on his part at all. But when it gets boring, and you know it will. This always happens. What happens when he returns late from work? Or you? What then? You both know what each of you is capable of. As it will be, I wonder who will suspect whom. She looked back at James, who shook his head, smiling weakly and making a "it's all rubbish" look on his face. But the damage had already been done. Christy prided herself on her ability to read people. She was proud of her ethics. They have already suffered today, and she is smart enough to understand the truth of my statements. And what's worse is that they are being said now. Everything is open. This cannot simply be ignored. When this happens, and we all know it will happen, this will be the first thing that comes to mind. In a situation as emotionally charged as this, how could this not be the first thing to do? And thus this relationship is doomed even before it began. This suspicion was now on the surface, imposed, and it was not going to go away. In a way, Their entire relationship was built on a lie that is slowly catching on to her, and now I've brought it to her attention. Christy turned and looked at me, her eyes wide. She realized what I said, and I knew it had penetrated her. It's only superficial for now, but over time it will penetrate even deeper. She got away with it with me because I trusted her. She knew he would never do that. Not the way she did, and I just emphasized that. Fine. Another physical wound. I still wanted my pound of flesh. It's time to take the control shot. I took another sip of beer, this time emptying the can, and he even burped. It was done dispassionately and came out at the right moment. You know, the only thing that really struck a nerve? There are tears in my eyes again. For a situation where they had to explain the new reality to me, she said very little. Deep down, you are quite evil. This phrase was also not long in coming. No matter who else Christy thought she was, she deeply believed that she was a good person. She had statements about this, that someone was good who just did a bad thing. Almost no one was inherently evil. Most people find themselves in bad situations, or are forced into them, and see only one way out. I had never thought about it before, but I just recently realized that Christy is a liberal with a warm heart. She is one of those who never shifts responsibility to others. Now I'm also a liberal. I believe in specialized medicine, caring for everyone on the social spectrum and everything else. But I also believe in personal responsibility. You may have reasons for what you did, and I can sympathize with those reasons. But in my opinion, this does not release you from responsibility for what you actually did. You may not have a girlfriend and women may tease you, but that doesn't mean you should take a gun to the bar and start shooting at cheerleaders. Doesn't mean anything. You do this for some reason, and these people are just as dead as they were 5 minutes ago. Just because I understand your reasons won't make these people alive. She deeply believes that she is a good person who may do something bad, but that's okay, because it will make her feel terrible later. The thing is, when someone you deeply love says something like that to you, when you desperately don't want to believe it, but deep down you know it's true, it gets past your conscious defenses. You know that this is true, even if in fact it is not. I was one of the people she trusted most in the world, and I declared her evil, and I clearly meant it. And given the light I had shed on her carefully constructed self-deception, she knew I had reason to believe it, which means she will almost certainly believe it too. It was the worst kind of self-doubt, being supported by someone you value and trust. The fact that I was interested in saying this is ignored. This is what I was hoping for. She will believe it, and there is nothing stronger than the belief that you inspire in yourself. Well, good. It's time to really make her feel terrible. The thing is, Christy, every time you look in the mirror, you will remember this day. What you said, what you did, the actions you took, the pain and personal destruction you caused. And all because you didn't want to fall in love. Well, to hell with it. I shouldn't and won't buy it. From your side, all this was an effort of will. Why, I can't even guess, and I don't think you know either. But it is not important. You did it, and this is the result. In a second, I will ask you to leave, and if you know what is good for you, you will leave. I've never hit a woman before, and God knows I love you. But if you stay here, I might not be able to control myself, and I certainly can't when it comes to this dickhead. So, take with you the knowledge that you are an evil person, that everything you did here was evil incarnate, and understand that all our friends and your family will know about it. You know that I can explain it in such a way that they will understand everything, just like you. Think about it. Think about the results of your sneaky little affair. You killed the only thing in your life you could rely on, and there is no one you can blame but yourself. You are, without a doubt, a truly evil person, one of the worst kinds, who harms others and then tries to minimize your own responsibility for those actions by minimizing the damage caused. Such a person, I hope, will die alone and in pain. If I were you, I would seek professional help. Too late for this case, but I would probably want to know why so I don't have to do it again. So, go off with your serial adulterer and live happily ever after, constantly wondering where to look for each other, and I'll sit here, drink myself to death, and wonder what the hell I didn't do. I hope sex makes up for everything you've lost. Leave. I just sat and looked at her, and she looked back. She was about to say something, stopped, then stammered, "This house is mine, too." I was speechless. He stood up as threateningly as he could and shouted, "Get the fuck out, you fucking slut!" and threw the empty beer can at the wall, where it clinked. Not quite the effect I was hoping for, but I was too angry to care. She turned pale and James rose to his feet, looking at my expression. He turned away and, hugging a visibly frightened Christy, dragged her to the door. "Wait," I said, deciding to do the latter. It occurred to me literally at that very second, a fitting tribute to the evening. I approached, and she backed away from me. I grabbed her left hand, unclenched my fist, and pulled the engagement and wedding rings off her finger before she could stop me, then stepped back, examining them. Then he took off his own and, gathering them all into a fist, said, "Wait here." I went to the toilet by the front door, straight from the kitchen, and opened the door, leaving it open. Looking back at her ashen face, I threw all the rings into the toilet, and then, without looking, flushed the water. Seems appropriate. You flushed our marriage down the toilet, so we need to flush the rings too. I knew it would hurt. She loved those rings. She spent 3 months searching for suitable rings and made them from metal taken from her father's ring. I didn't get any pleasure from it, but it was symbolic. And at that moment, I honestly just wanted to hurt her as much as possible. It doesn't make me feel very good now, but I have to be honest about how I felt at that moment. She moaned at my actions, muttering in a very thin voice, "No, no, no, I didn't want this." "One more thing," I said, and in the middle of the sentence I hit James square in the face. I applied a lot of force, and his nose crunched under my fist. Blood poured out everywhere, and he fell to the floor. Christy looked at him, then at me. I rubbed my fist and looked at her with a grimace. "Now you can go. Tomorrow I'll change the locks. Expect to be served." She was finished. We were finished. She knew it and I knew it. She would no longer be able to look at herself in the mirror without seeing this scene. She won't be able to face her friends and will forever regret the events of today, what led up to this, what she did to our relationship, and who she thought she was. And at that moment, I didn't have a single drop of sympathy for her. I had been abused, I had been betrayed, I had been deceived, and damn, I was angry and about to get my pound of flesh. It occurred to me that she might even do something drastic. But at that moment, I'm ashamed to say I didn't care. Again, this is hardly the right feeling, but I was so devastated that at that moment I didn't care. I may look like an asshole, but, as I already said, it's not easy to live with me. Because of moments like these. She knelt down next to him, fussing, and I literally lifted him up by his hair. I opened the apartment door and pushed him out without a word. Christy followed in shock. And once they were outside the door, I stepped back inside and slammed it in their faces. He stood there for a moment, trembling, then turned and walked back into the living room, grabbing the bottle of peach-flavored vodka that was sitting on the kitchen table. I remembered my words, but I had no intention of drinking myself to death, although now I needed a couple of healthy sips to calm down. Life is for the winner, and by God, I did not intend to be a victim, although in fact I was. I just need to find a way forward. Tomorrow will be a new day. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one.